Yeah.
But you actually do get to call one more WrestleMania main event, one more WrestleMania match for The Undertaker. It's when The Undertaker wrestled Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 33. Sadly, this is on the heels of your lovely bride, Jan, leaving this earth. But man, for you to get to come out in front of that crowd and do your thing and wear that black hat and call an Undertaker match at WrestleMania, that was like chicken noodle soup for old JR, was it not?
Yeah, it was. It was kind of cool. That was a Vince call, and the entrance, Vince didn't have to give me an entrance if he didn't want to, but he made it work, made it right. And I was so thankful and grateful still to this day that I got to call that match because I could kind of see where the company was headed with Roman Reigns. And, it did take a rocket scientist to figure that out. But still, the other stable is Taker. And for my love of the Undertaker character and my respect for the man, it was a pivotal moment in my career to be able to walk out there and get a little entrance, get a nice crowd reaction, which is always good for the, you know, chicken soup for the soul or whatever.
Yeah.
And it worked out. It worked out great, and I was so blessed to be able to call that match that I'm still thankful. I think I worked with Michael Cole and Lawler. Maybe I'm not sure. But there are three of us out there, and sometimes that's challenging. Three-man announce booth. I prefer a two-man booth personally, just me. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Just how I look at it. And so all good. It was all good. I was very blessed. I had that was Vince was looking out for me.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that because he didn't have to do it.
No.
He did it, but he did it because he thought it was the right thing to do for the match. It added a little something to the match. And anytime you can add a little positivity to the presentation involving the Undertaker, you jump at it. And he did, and it worked out great.
Let's talk about his final match. It happened at a weird time in the world. WrestleMania 36, the height of the pandemic. And it's going to be the birth, I guess you might call it, of a cinematic match. AJ Styles versus The Undertaker. No audience, but what a story, what a match, what a presentation. You watch this at home like all of us because we couldn't be there. What'd you think of the final chapter of the Undertaker story, his match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania?
I think not enough is spoken about the abilities and the skill set of AJ Styles, first of all. He's amazing. He called me the other day to see how I was feeling, which was very much appreciated. Good kid. I've known him for his entire career. I think he's just one of the best in-ring talents. I got the hiccups. He's one of the best in-ring talents that I've ever seen. And still to this day, very, very productive. He's reinventing himself, adding new wrinkles, as we said, how important that is. The confidence you have in one's ability to change and change for the better. So I don't think AJ ever got enough credit for his performance with Taker. But that's just me. And but Taker delivered again. He stepped up and he delivered again. I guess a younger, smaller guy. Taker stepped up and nailed it. There were runners on base and he brought them home. So I thought that was one of the better.
Yes.
Of the entire year, one of the better matches, Conrad, that I've seen in a long, long time. So I'm proud of AJ. Always proud of him. But of course, Taker. How can you be surprised? I can't. He's that good. And he's that good with anybody that he chooses to work with or he's booked with. And they delivered big time. I love that match.
Did you reach out to him when he retired? I know you weren't actively working with WWE at the time, but that doesn't keep you from staying in touch with your friends.
I texted him, told him I loved him, how proud I was of him. What he had done for the business will never be discounted. So I was, I reached out to him. And, I reached out to him here again. I didn't text him this weekend about the Texas game with Washington. But during the football season, that second Saturday in October, when Oklahoma plays Texas in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, I certainly reach out. A lot of times it's just good natured bullshit, but he always gets right back to me, and it's just awesome. I love the guy, I really do. As a human being, I'm privileged and lucky to have known him to the level that we have built this relationship. And even though I'm not an administrator in that company, I'm very blessed and thankful that I got a chance to be in that role and to help whatever I could do to help his career. We paid him well. When he needed time off, we facilitated it. We catered to Taker as we should have. He deserved it. He earned it. And I would. There's nothing in as far as the management of him and the administration of him that I would have changed. Just was. He was just. He's phenomenal. There'll never be another talent like him. I don't think. I think he's one of one.
What do you think his legacy will be? Do you think it
Well,
will?
you can use a lot. You can use a lot of talents, a lot of pre-existing talents, reputation, and so forth. I love what Mark does. He's become a great parent. He's an entrepreneur in a lot of ways. I just love the guy. And if you're a talent and he's at you're in the same venue he's in for any occasion, and you don't look him up and ask him questions, what are you thinking about? Do you really want to be a star? Because this guy can tell you how to be a star based on your skill set and your game. So his legacy is that Clint Eastwood character will live forever. Uh, Strong, silent type, but a phenomenal leader. And I know I asked him to do a lot of things for me when I was head of talent. Get somebody that couldn't tell time, couldn't be at work on time, things of that nature. But he handled a lot of things for me, and he would get results. Because the talents, not so much they didn't want to disappoint JR or Vince, they didn't want to disappoint the Undertaker.
Right.
So him intervening on some scenarios was a great thing, and it worked out fabulously. So I'm, as you can tell, as we both are, big Undertaker fans, and his legacy will never fade. He's a made man to the true sense of the word.
We got a few questions here. Let's do a few here. Anthony wants to know, it's known that Taker is and was a respected leader in the locker room. Put in that situation, did that help or put him in an odd position with Vince?
Oh, I think it helped because Vince trusted Taker, and he saw that Taker had a lot to contribute outside delivering tombstone pile drivers. So, but I think it helped him. It was an asset for Vince. It's an asset for me in that regard. So, in any event, he's uh, just like him, and I was very blessed that I was at the right place at the right time to help manage his career. Uh, I talked to Ole about when Taker's contract was coming up, and Ole gave me that same line of bullshit. Well, he'll never draw a dime, and I wouldn't pay the same or blah blah blah. It's just so stupid. How do you take a guy that's 6'9", athletic? Uh, how do you take a guy like that and not use him? So it just shows the acumen that Ole had in that time frame. It was the fact that Ole wasn't a smart guy and wasn't a good booker at times, but he was hard headed. And for whatever reason, he just thought that Taker was just another big, slow footed, unathletic super heavyweight. And that's not the case. It wasn't the case. So uh, I didn't try that hard to get him re-signed, because I knew that based on Taker and my talks, that he had an opportunity to work for Vince. He didn't know the Undertaker gimmick. He didn't know all those things. But I just thought he'd be in better hands working with Vince than he would be trying to figure out a deal to stay where he apparently wasn't wanted. And so I was very pleased with how he evolved, how he developed. And that was a gift for Vince. That was just really it worked out great.
I'm curious, and I don't mean this to be ugly, but I know it's going to sound like I'm being argumentative. I'm just trying to understand because I feel like a lot of times when we hear about guys who have a relationship with the quote unquote office, whether it's you running talent relations or Vince McMahon himself, that a lot of the guys in the locker room, the boys, if you will, they would perceive that person as being a stooge because a lot of those guys have a us versus them mentality. It's the office versus the boys. It's rare that you find someone who can be considered a leader amongst the boys, but an ally for the office. Because if we're talking about almost anyone else in that scenario, someone would raise their hand and say, "Oh, that means he's a stooge." But nobody ever says that about the Undertaker. Why is that?
Because he wasn't a stooge. He wasn't. He was a team player. He was like the captain of the team. He wanted everybody to make their curfew type thing. You know, that's using that as a very loose illustration. But he wasn't a stooge. He was a lot more for the talent than he was for advocating the company. Even though the company got the end result of whatever Taker was endorsing, the company was going to get the bottom line end result. So, but he was never a stooge. He was always a team guy, and he was a locker room leader, as we've established. So, we were lucky to have him, man. We're very, very lucky to have, even if he was off for 9 months.
Yeah.
Even if he wasn't working, he still was our guy. And we knew that sooner than later, he'd be back bigger and better than ever.